Thank you, Shmuley. I've been to quite a few dinners with Shmuley, Seder dinners, and I'm always impressed at the questions. The answers are interesting as well, but the questions are unique. And Jewish values, of course, always ask quite profoundly that we serve others. And then they go on to say, more you have to ask how than why. So let me speak a bit about President Paul Kagame. He became the president of Rwanda in 2000 in a nation that seemed to have irreconcilable differences. Shmuley touched on some of what was going on during the years preceding that. A nation that had suffered continually for quite a long time. And as Shmuley pointed out, you have become the only known individual who has stopped a genocide. You arrested a crisis, just to make sure everyone's on the same page, in which Hutu extremists had slaughtered 850,000 Tutsi and moderate Hutus. A huge number. The idea of rivers being jammed with 300 dead bodies or more every hour, is one that I read several different locations, and it was reported to me from a primary source as well. And when the genocide was initiated, there were folks who fought back. Many sought to make a difference. And the Rwandan Patriotic Front, led by President Kagame, warned the United Nations that it needed immediately to intervene. Paradoxically, the opposite happened. The United Nations withdrew their troops, and the civil war continued. If I can quote Thomas Hobbes, hell is truth seen too late. Truth seen too late, that is hell. While masterfully commanding a depleted army against mightier government forces, General Kagame was forced to heavily recruit from anybody who was out there who was willing to help the survivors and the refugees created by this genocide. 3 months after the genocide broke out, with a resounding military victory, President Kagame broke through, ended the genocide. And my friends, that was the easy part. That was the easy part, because what he had to do next is something that I still don't understand, and I'm going to ask President Kagame to explain to us. How do you keep people from paying back what was done to them? How do you get that woman we heard of earlier, with Debbie and Shmuley, couldn't hug because she lost the capacity to do that, not to take extreme action against the people who killed her 1-year-old and her husband? So Rwanda's emerged as a technological and agricultural hub, unrivaled prosperity that doesn't happen if you don't have solutions. It's become just a touristic destination. There are all kinds of global entrepreneurship indices that have reported Rwanda as being one of the best countries in the continent of Africa to do business. So how do you do that? I'll use words that he has used: dignity, integrity, somehow rising above. He wouldn't trust anybody else to protect his people, turning down opportunities to be protected because he knew they had to do it themselves. He fought aggressively to protect his nation with the people he had. He lobbied for Umuganda. Umuganda is a half-day-a-month mandatory service for public works. Everyone gets together and puts the sewer system back together. Once a month, basically, everyone gets to sit around and talk about race and reconciliation. It's mandatory. It takes a lot of guts to do that. And I asked some of his team that was here, and as they were struggling with great pride to explain why he was impactful, they said because he knows that failure is not an option. He knows that if he sets the standard and is forceful, then people will follow. That's what great leaders do. And here's the reality. People no smarter than you, people not better at this than you, make the rules by which you live. Why not make those rules yourself? He also got pretty comfortable being misunderstood, which I think is true of many great leaders. Why bother correcting all the time? People will see if you keep doing the right thing. Now, I mentioned Thomas Hobbes before, that hell is truth seen too late. I think it was true of the Shoah, but it's true of many crises since. Helen Keller, who's Swedenborgian, that's my wife's religion, said that worse than being blind, and remember, Helen Keller was born blind, unable to hear, and therefore couldn't speak, and she learned with great teachers to be able to communicate. She said, worse than being blind is being blessed with sight with no vision. President Kagame, you have great vision, something that is uniquely an attribute that you've been able to share with your countrymen. And you've considered yourself a friend of Israel, a country that I too consider myself a friend of. It's emblematic of so much that we're looking for in the world now. Last year, President Netanyahu traveled to Uganda to commemorate the 40th anniversary of his late brother Yoni's successfully leading a rescue mission there. There's an intricacy and an intertwining between these two great nations. Later, he traveled to Rwanda, boosting ties and supporting the needs of Rwanda and Israel to commonly mark this genocide. Now, I know firsthand the appreciation that non-Jews, because I am one, can have for Jewish values. So I take immense pride in presenting Dr. Miriam and Sheldon Adelson Award for Friendship of the Jewish people to the President of Rwanda. And I'll leave with this last phrase, because this is what he demonstrates, that kindness is heard by the deaf and seen by the blind. That's that fitting opposite of being too late and seeing it. So, President Kagame, please join us.